Recording in progress.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the Radiant Torah, the parsha with the teachings of Rebbe Nachman of Breslov. And we would like to thank Eleanor Gudis, Dr. Eleanor Gudis, for sponsoring these parsha classes. And may it be a tremendous merit for her and her family as they share the teachings of the tzaddikim, Rebbe Nachman of Breslov. And we're going to begin again with my husband blowing the shofar for everyone before he leaves tomorrow. And I'm writing my phone number in here because somebody just asked me, 917-348-1573. If you text me to that number, oh, hi, Sarah. If you text me to that number, I will add you, I will put you in the WhatsApp, okay? All right, or you can WhatsApp me to that number. All right, Moish, you wanna come blow the shofar for us? Thank you. Okay, hold on, come closer to the, wait, okay. Let me hold this. Okay. Thank you. Okay, that's we're not going to hear the shofar from him probably until next year. Okay, next year hopefully we'll hear the shofar of Mashiach. Let me see, I'm having a problem with my camera. I have to get a new camera. Okay.
Bravo.
All right, so today, this week's parsha is Parshat Nitzavim. But because the Rosh Hashanah is coming and we won't be meeting next week, I'm going to try to squeeze in a little bit of next chapter's parsha, which is Parshat Vayelech at the end. Hopefully we'll get some in there. Okay. So, get my... Oh, okay. So the parsha begins, Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulachem. You stand this day together, all of you. Okay, Kulachem. So Nitzavim is you stand, and Atem is you as a plural. So the parsha begins with one of the most important concepts. Sorry, I have to turn off the air conditioning because I can't hear. One of the most important concepts in Torah, and that is this concept of Achdut, Actus, Jewish unity. Okay, and in order for us to receive the Torah, we can't do it alone. Yes, we can receive it alone in terms of learning the Torah, taking it into our hearts, following the mitzvot, and so on and so forth. But in order for us to have the true essence of the Torah, we have to do it with other Jews. It's extremely important. And sometimes what happens is that we find ourselves in situations where there is a break in unity. And I shouldn't say sometimes, because I'm going to talk Turkey here and say that for many, 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 many Jews, there's their group and then another group, or there's themselves and then there's a distance between another Jew. And this fracture is something that we need to address as individuals, okay? And it's something that can only really be addressed in our hearts. And what has to happen for us to have this unity so that we can receive the Torah together, as Moshe said and as Hashem intended, is we have to work on our ability to let go of judging others. Now, Rosh Hashanah is coming up. For those of you who were here last night, you know we discussed judgment a little bit. But I want to share with you that Rebbe Nachman says that any time a Jew sits down to talk about another Jew, anytime somebody sits down and passes judgment on one of their brothers or sisters, something we all have done, okay? It is that person's Rosh Hashanah. That person has declared that that day is Rosh Hashanah for them, okay? What do I mean by it? So they've declared that that day is the day of judgment for them. Anytime we sit down to say about another Jew who believes in Hashem, has a connection with the Jewish people, who wants to be part of the Jewish people, anytime we say, well, that person, they've done this, they're no good, they've done that, they're no good, look at them over there, well, we're the real ones, they're the not, they're the real, so on and so forth. Anytime we do that, we fracture our connection to Torah, and we invite down upon us our own Rosh Hashanah. This is not the kind of Rosh Hashanah we want. Okay, we don't want a judgment day that's harsh. We want a sweet judgment day. Okay, Shana Tova Umatuka, a year that's good and sweet. So this is really an important concept, and it's no accident, by the way. It's no accident, excuse me, by the way, that Nitzavim is the parsha before Rosh Hashanah. Okay, there's so many messages in this parsha that we can take into the new year. So this idea of standing together to receive Moshe's teachings is very important. And the parsha, I'm going to I have so many texts today I want to share with you. I got overly enthusiastic. Probably won't get through them all. That should be no surprise to anyone. But what I want to do is begin with this question that Rashi asks. Rashi, okay, always has a question, a pshat, a question that is on the simple level of the Torah. As we learn together, we'll find that the pshat is not so pshat. Okay, it's not necessarily literal, although it brings up points that may be literal. So Rashi asks, why does this parsha begin with, today all of you standing before Hashem, which follows the account of the curses in last week's parsha. Last week, the parsha ended with the curses. I didn't go into them. I focused on the blessings, but it ended with the curses. So the reason he tells us is because when the Jews heard Moshe pronouncing the curses, they got very pale and they said, oh my gosh, how are we going to ever withstand these curses? And Moshe wanted to calm them. So he said, listen, you've angered Hashem many times, but he hasn't done away with you, okay? And today, all of you are standing before Hashem. Why? Because the curses and the suffering that you go through strengthen you and make it possible for you to stand. Okay. So anybody who's ever been through any suffering, which I'm assuming includes every single one of us, because there is no life without suffering, has a choice to be strengthened by that suffering or to feel crushed by it. Now, I want to give a little bit of a caveat. When we look at our own suffering, our goal is to see what we can learn from it. We do want relief from suffering. I don't want to say we don't want relief. We want our suffering to end for sure, just end. But is there something for us in that suffering that can strengthen us, that can help us grow closer to Hashem, that can help us grow as human beings? the expression suffering builds character, very often that is true. But when it comes to the suffering of another person, we really are not in a position to say, buck up, get strong, take care of this, okay? Just get over it. It's going to make you stronger, okay? No. Our job as a human being and as a Jew is when we see another person suffering, our job is to say to them, how can I help you? Do you need a shoulder to cry on? Is there something material I can do to help you? You may have a skill that can help alleviate someone's suffering, such as you might be a nurse, suppose it's a physical suffering, or a doctor. You might be a therapist. You might just be a good friend. You might have money, somebody's suffering in poverty, you could give them money. Whatever that is what's going to promote Achdut. And because it's the opposite, okay, it's an act of chesed. So it's the opposite of what I spoke about in the beginning, which is the sitting down in judgment. Okay, it's complete opposite of that. You are also judged with sweetness and kindness and compassion, and your suffering is relieved as well. So this idea of unity is really a key way to start the new year. Not only the Achdut of our brothers and sisters and us, but also this idea of unity, which is a higher level, which is an understanding that Hashem is the unity of all. He's the oneness that creates, sustains, fills, and surrounds. Okay. So this is what we can take from just the very first concept in this parsha. Now, the parsha continues with this list of who's standing together before Hashem, okay? And it includes every man of Israel, okay? Your young ones, your children, your wives, the stranger is a ger. We can talk about what that means another time. From the person who's the logger, the one who chops down trees, to the person who schleps water, the water drawer, and sells water and brings water all around. So who stands before Hashem? Not just the men, but also the women, also the children. Not just the doctors and the rabbis and the professors, but also the people who are the carpenters and the people who are the tailors and the people who own grocery stores. All of us stand before Hashem together. There is literally no cause for discrimination when it comes to accepting the Torah. So we find in the Talmud something mind-blowing, that a lot of the greatest rabbis in the Talmud didn't have such illustrious beginnings. Some were thieves, some were tanners of leather, which is a very dirty job because you basically take excrement and rub it on cowhide. So you can imagine how they smelled, okay? Some of them were carpenters. So hold on one second, please. I'm sorry, there really is someone at the door. Let me. I'm sorry, that wasn't supposed to happen. I scheduled a delivery. It was supposed to come later. Apologize. Yeah. So we have, hold on one second. I apologize again. So this idea is we don't know the value of a neshama. Okay, so in the Talmud, we have all these characters who were tremendous sages and tzaddikim, but didn't start off that way. So we can't look at any Jew and say, they know nothing. We don't know the measure of their neshama, of their soul. Now, Rebbe Nachman spoke about an idea that came from the Baal Shem Tov, really, his great-grandfather. And the idea is the idea of the simple Jew. And by the simple Jew, yes, he means someone who serves Hashem wholeheartedly with simplicity, but he also is referring to someone who's outwardly simple, someone who's living a very simple life. Maybe they don't have the advantages of a Torah education. Maybe they don't have the advantages of a profession. Maybe they don't even have a very quick mind. But the Rebbe said that if the person is sincere and serves Hashem with love and sincerity, then this is exactly what we need, not only then in his time, but in the future, because he said that when the future comes, which is today, in the era before Mashiach, that the simple person who says Psalms with a feeling in their heart and a connection to Hashem is going to be as rare as the greatest tzaddik in any other period of time. Okay? There's a tremendous value. If you are someone feels a connection to Hashem, who yearns to come closer to Hashem, who yearns to live a Jewish life, who yearns to understand a word or two of Torah, if you are this person, then don't underestimate the power of your absolute yearning to be a holy neshama, because that is what is really required of a Jew. Yes, we should learn. Yes, we should know. Yes, we should grow. But if we have that feeling in our heart and we work towards it step by step, little by little, we become part of that illustrious group. Okay, who's that group? Us, all of us. Okay, the children of Israel, all of us who want to come closer to Hashem, feel close to each other, and feel that connection. Okay, now, I'm going to, I want to give you another few points from Rebbe Nachman that I thought were really beautiful. Okay, so today, so the parsha begins that we're standing in front of Hashem Hayom, today, okay? So this idea of today is the most important day of your life, okay? You know, many years ago, there was an advertising campaign. Today is the first day of the rest of your life, okay? But we say today is the most important day of your life. Today is what counts, okay? Today is going to, yes, have an effect on the rest of your life. It's true, but what you're doing in the present moment is what really counts. Now, what we find is that many of us are very busy. We're rushing to get to the next thing. We have big lists. We have a lot to do, okay? And this is good. We should have a lot to do. It's better than sitting around with nothing to do, okay? Because then we start to worry. But we have a lot to do and we want to accomplish. And we sometimes find ourselves losing ourselves in the moment. We find that we get confused. We find that we're unable to focus. We find that we lose perspective. The Rebbe reminds us that being present in the present is the best way to really connect to Hashem and to really express and grow our neshamas. So we have to develop this sense of awareness. This sense of awareness is called dot, okay, which often gets translated as knowledge. But what that really means, this type of knowledge, is this knowledge an awareness that Hashem is here, Hashem is present, Hashem is fueling everything, Hashem is sustaining everything. And when we take that awareness and combine it with Torah learning, Torah knowledge, whatever we can learn, if it's the parsha, if it's another type of Torah learning, okay, whatever we can learn, little by little, we develop this dot, okay? Now, sometimes people say that women, okay, it's not sometimes, this is really a Kabbalistic idea, that women don't really have dot. Our strength is Bina. Okay, what is Bina? Bina is a kind of understanding that comes from being able to take disparate amounts of data, put them together, synthesize them, and form a, I guess a hypothesis really, but to get an inference from that data. Okay, Bina is actually a kind of logic that supersedes the normal progressive logic. Okay, it's a messy logic, but it's a logic that often has the outcome of truth. Dot is a kind of taking of textual knowledge, taking of Torah learning, and combining that with an awareness of Hashem, a spiritual awareness. So we are absolutely capable of dot. We need to be capable of dot, or das, as I say, we need to be capable of it, but don't feel bad if that's not your strong point. And your strong point is that Bina, that's sometimes called women's intuition. Okay, I think it's actually a little better than women's intuition, because women's intuition can have a hyper emotional content, and that's not always necessary for Bina. So we still have an obligation to develop ourselves. And our obligation, according to the Torah, is to learn the Torah that we know, that we need to know to stay inspired and to follow the mitzvot. We have to have that. And that basically today includes most of the Torah. If there are some women who are more scholarly inclined, that's great. You know, if that's your inclination, Rebbe Nachman doesn't stop us. You know, he says that a person has a natural inclination towards profession, towards a career, towards a job, towards a way of life, and that you shouldn't try to put a square peg in a round hole, and you should go with what pulls you. It doesn't mean you should go with what pulls you if it's against Torah, okay? But it does mean you should take your talents and your abilities and your drives and your yearning and develop them in a way that's kosher, but that's truly you. There is a tremendous emphasis in this whole Achdut parsha, we're talking about Achdut, on individuality, because we need each of us and our individual lives and our individual neshamas. We need each of us to make up part of that whole. We can't be the Jewish people without each of us. Each of us has something to offer. Rebbe Nachman describes it as a chain or chain link or a fence going from here up, 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 and everybody's on a rung of this chain or this ladder or this whatever. Everybody's standing on a rung. And when we go up a rung in one area, we make room for the person who's not on that rung to move up, and we bump up the person above us. It's a chain reaction, okay? And we're always in flux, we're always in motion, and we're always on many, many different of these chain ladders, because sometimes we're improving in one area, sometimes we're improving in another, and so on, okay? So our unity is a unity, but it does not in any way take away from our individuality. As a matter of fact, the emphasis in Breslov is on the opposite, which is why in Breslov, you see people who dress different ways, who have different minhagim. The emphasis is not on the externals. the emphasis is on developing yourself internally. And that may mean, by the way, sticking with your family's customs, the minhagim, and it may mean dressing in a certain way, but it may not. Okay. Every person has to find out what's right for them. Okay. Now, okay.
Hi, Rivka.
Yes.
Can you just repeat really quickly what you mentioned about women, the intellectual learning versus the intuitive?
Okay. So I should say not intellectual, but textual in a way.
Textual, excuse
Right.
me.
Yeah, that's okay. So in general, it's like this. We don't have a Torah obligation. We don't have the mitzvah of Torah learning. That mitzvah is given to men. Okay, in the Torah. Okay, go. If you don't mind muting yourself, I'm going to answer quickly. Okay, so we don't have that. We don't have that that obligation to learn, to sit and learn Gemara, to sit and learn the Talmud. But we do have an obligation to learn as much Torah as we need to fulfill the Torah. So it's still an obligation, but it has a different emphasis. Now, in terms of intellectual versus intuition, we have to have both. It's not either or. It's just that we happen to have this kind of ability with Bina to have a kind of understanding that is maybe supra intellectual or super intellectual in a way. Okay, we have to have both. It's not so clear cut because we're all individuals. So there are many women who are very intellectual and many women who aren't. The same with men. Okay, what our obligations are according to Torah are slightly different. Okay, so now what I would like to do is also talking about something very beautiful that Reb Noson brings out about this. Today, all of you are standing before Hashem, okay? And all this idea of standing together. And this is, what does this standing together mean? So, on a symbolic level, when the Torah says, today, all of you are standing before Hashem, your Lord, it's saying you refers to the person. All of you are standing. So this refers to a person. Standing refers to a place because we have to stand on something. Okay. We have to stand in a space, on a place. And today refers to time. Okay. So by joining together, we are connecting these ideas of person, okay, or neshama, soul, person, place and space, and time. And these are the three realms that we are bringing in our relationship with Hashem. We relate to Hashem as a person with our neshama. We relate to Hashem from our space, wherever it is we live, wherever it is we live, we work, we stand, whatever. And we also are bringing our relation to Hashem in time. And that time is today. Okay. There's an immediacy here. All right. And when we can, okay, nobody can necessarily perfect all of these, but when we can bring ourselves in unity to Hashem, a unity of ourselves even, in soul, space, and time, what we've done is we have developed our relationship with Hashem with a kind of giving, a kind of connection that otherwise, okay, would be lacking. So keeping those three things in mind, this is a difficult concept, but it's delicious. It's a fascinating concept. I love this idea of being present with Hashem. The Rebbe gives us this idea of how to do it. So I want to give some practical examples, okay? So the first idea is as a person. So as a human being, how do we bring ourselves to this relationship with Hashem? So the first thing we do is we bring ourselves to this relationship to Hashem by doing whatever it is we're doing, listening to a Torah talk, giving tzedakah, washing the dishes to put them away because you're going to cook dinner for someone and you're going to cook a beautiful kosher dinner. Okay, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. How do we bring ourselves before Hashem in space? Wherever we are in our space, if we're in the laundry room, if we're on the highway in a car, if we're on the train, if we're in our living room, keeping in mind that Hashem is here too, wherever that here is for you. And then in terms of time, remembering Hashem in the moment, today, now, this moment, and this moment, and so on. Now, obviously, this is very difficult to do all the time with a constant awareness. That takes a very high level of das, and that is really Moshe Rabbeinu's level of das. That's the level of das of the tzaddik, okay? But we can all grab a hold of this in our own way, okay? Bits and pieces of this, and enliven ourselves with this, enliven our neshamas with this, our souls with this. And it becomes an amazing concept. You know, we talked last night about Yosef HaTzadik, released after 12 years in the Egyptian prison. But we know Yosef is always called HaTzadik. Yosef is the tzaddik for specific reasons, but we know that he had that in the prison. In the prison, he served Hashem. He served him with his person. He served him from that space. He served him in time, in every moment. And that's a role model. The tzaddikim are our role models. But if we can grab a few minutes of this day and a few minutes of that day, we're ahead of the game. Okay, I'm going to continue. Now, after this idea of standing in front of Hashem, we come to this idea of the future redemption, of the Geulah, when Mashiach is going to come. But before that, in order to be redeemed, in order for there to be the Geulah, okay, there has to be what? An exile, okay? There has to be a galut in order for there to be a galua, okay? There has to be a Geulah, excuse me, there has to be. So in order to be redeemed, we have to be unredeemed. And Moshe warns in this parsha of the exile from Israel, the exile from our purpose, the exile from the land, the desolation of the land, and what will occur. And he says, here's what's going to happen. Okay, you're going to give up on Hashem and you're going to be exiled. You're going to give up on the Torah and you're going to be exiled. But then he gives us a lot of hope. You will return to Hashem. And even if your outcasts, your exiles, are in the ends of the heavens, from there Hashem will gather you in. And he will bring you to the land which your avot had, your fathers had. Okay, and that means, of course, our ancestors, our great grandfathers, our great Zadis. Okay, they were given the land, and eventually, as Moshe says, okay, we were exiled. We were exiled because we lost a lot of our dot. Okay, we lost that awareness, that holy awareness that Hashem was with us in a potential relationship, if we want to be in a relationship at all times, in all places, and hopefully in our hearts. Okay, and it's very sad. It's actually very sad. We were taken away. We were exiled. And this is the situation that we find ourselves in. But we see, and many interpret, all the Jews making aliyah, okay, since throughout time, Jews always made aliyah. Okay, there were always Jews in Israel. My grandfather was certainly there before it was a state. But the idea is that we are all being gathered in little by little by little. Okay. And second, I don't have it in front of me. I wanted to show you something, but I can't find it. But this idea is is what is happening now is that future that Moshe Rabbeinu prophesied. Okay. And, Rebbe Nachman has a lot to say about this. In his day, which was a couple of 100 years ago, he said, there is a flood coming. And the flood he was referring to was a flood of immorality and atheism. Okay. And he said, this flood is coming, the likes of which have never been seen on earth. And even the parts of earth that were not covered, like the tall parts of Israel, that were not covered by this flood during the Mabul, the flood of Noah's time, are going to be covered. And when that occurs, okay, we know that it can't be sustained. And eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later, Mashiach will come and we will all be brought to a state in which we have developed more da'at. We have developed more awareness of Hashem. That's one of the main things that Mashiach is going to help us with. Okay. So this flood that we're living in, for some people, they're so immersed in it that it's very difficult to see. It's very difficult to see that they're nearly drowning. Okay. And I can tell you, as someone who has had a lot of changes in my life, I've been through many, many, many changes in my life, that every time I get my head above water, okay, I see that there's more to do. There's always more to do. If you've ever felt like you were drowning, the only thing to hang on to from this flood is Hashem and his Torah and the true tzaddikim, because nothing else can be hung on to that will get you out of the water. Okay? Nothing else. And you may try many other things to get out of this flood. And many people, I want to tell you, many people call me all the time, people I've never met from all areas of the world. It's quite amazing to me. They text me, they call me, they email me, and they're stuck and they're suffering. And they know that the only way out, they intuit the only way out is through the teachings of the true tzaddikim. Okay. In order to even get to that point, okay, you have to first acknowledge that there's a problem in life. There's a problem. Okay. It's not a very popular topic. I'm sorry, but it's really important. It's very relevant to this parsha and to what we're going through with Rosh Hashanah coming up. And this idea is that Hashem, okay, which we're going to touch on when we get to Vayelech, Hashem hides his face, okay? And Rebbe Nachman speaks about this. He speaks about this Haster Esther, which is a double hiding, a double concealment. And Hashem hides his face when we're in exile or when a person is exiled from themselves, okay? And Hashem can hide his face, and then even more so, Hashem can doubly conceal himself. And that's when a person doesn't even realize that they need to seek Hashem. That's a very dark space, okay? So there's the space where someone's suffering and they say, okay, maybe my creator has the answer. Maybe the Torah has the answer. Maybe the tzaddikim have the answer. I feel Hashem's concealed from me. It hurts. I need help. I feel depressed. I feel angry. I feel whatever it is. Okay. Person's aware that there's at least a Hashem that maybe they should turn to. But when there is that double concealment, okay, there is not even awareness of where to turn. And don't think that this can't happen to you. And don't think that if someone who's living a full-on life with Hashem is always in the picture, that it can't happen to them, because we all have areas of our psyche that can be doubly hidden from Hashem. So, for example, one of the things we work on this time of year is our midot, okay, our character. We want to develop. We want to become better people. We want a new year where we're starting off on the right foot. We want to know what to work on, where to grow. Okay. There may be areas of yourself, your character that are completely in the dark to you. And you may have never connected that darkness with a lack of connection or a double concealment of Hashem, because Hashem is so concealed from that area of your life. So Rebbe Nachman, I want to start with anger because it's very important. He speaks about anger, okay? And he cautions us, do not be wise on Rosh Hashanah. Don't get angry, okay? It's really important to have joyful, wise, positive thoughts. Anger is something that not only conceals Hashem from us, but it conceals ourselves from ourselves. You know the expression, I was beside myself with anger. Okay. What does that mean? Beside myself. It means you're not fully inhabiting your own self. You're next to yourself. You're not even a part of yourself. Anger takes us away from ourselves. And one of the issues with exile, okay, especially in exile of the soul, is that when we don't have this awareness that everything's from Hashem, and we understand that even if it hurts, it's something that we need to go through. There are many reasons why that's possible. And we get angry, we lose even more of ourselves. Definitely, not only is Hashem concealed from us, we're concealed from us. Okay, because generally speaking, we direct anger outwards. Now, sometimes we direct anger at ourselves. That's also verboten. It's not allowed, because if you're directing anger at yourself, you're not solving the problem. You're just getting lost in a negative feeling. Okay, guilt, people speak about Jewish guilt. Guilt is not really a Jewish concept. It's a concept for Jewish comedians, but it's not actually a Jewish concept. A Jew shouldn't just have guilt. We should recognize that we messed up, sometimes even very purposefully. We messed up, and we don't just sit there wallowing in guilt. Oh, I feel so guilty. No, we do something about it. We do teshuvah. We confess to Hashem what we've done. We think about what we've done. If we've done something to another person, we try to make reparations, and we work hard to make sure that we try not to do that in the future. Okay. Of course, we're going to slip up again, but guilt itself just holds you in place. So this idea of concealment and exile is very present. It's actually present in both parshas of this week's parsha and then the one post Rosh Hashanah, Vayelech, because exile is a form of concealment. It's a form of concealment from Hashem, and it's a form of concealment from self. Okay. I know, I don't always go into these sort of deep psychological aspects of the parsha. I try to keep it more psychospiritual, but this is so important because we're starting next year. And if I can in any way emphasize and get you motivated to think about how you want to make that new beginning for next year, well, now is the time, right? Because I don't think we're really going to be meeting for the parsha until way after Rosh Hashanah. Right before Yom Kippur, we'll meet again, God willing. So this idea is how do we want to start? We're all in exile. We're in national exile. Even if you live in Israel, technically, according to Torah, you're in exile right now because Mashiach isn't here and the Geulah hasn't happened. And we aren't living fully actualized as individuals. Okay. The way that we actualize as individuals is by living with this connection to Hashem in the realm of people, space, and time, in the realm of neshama and the place where you're at and the time where you're at. Okay. And that, when we are able to live with that, and when we were able to really connect to this idea of what it means to have Hashem as king, which we're going to talk a lot about on Rosh Hashanah, we're going to focus on that, then we will have become closer to this self-actualization. So now our task is to get ready for it by doing as much work as we can. Rebbe Nachman says that every year when Rosh Hashanah comes, a Breslover, okay, someone who follows Rebbe Nachman's teachings to the best of their ability, especially the practice of hitbodedut, okay, talking to Hashem every day for however amount of time you're able to do. An hour is great, but if you do 5 minutes, a little bit is also good, says the Rebbe, and talking to him about yourself and where you want to be and how you want to grow, and really having a conversation with Hashem, review your day with Hashem, and so on. And then when Rosh Hashanah comes, you've done a lot of the hard work of Rosh Hashanah and a lot of the hard work of Yom Kippur, because if every day you're reviewing your day and you're seeing where you messed up, you're not going to wallow in guilt, or you're not going to push it under the rug of your subconscious. You're going to get out there and you're going to try to repair. You're going to fix. As the Rebbe always says, believe. If you believe you can damage, believe you can repair, you can fix stuff. We can all fix stuff. May seem like we can't, but we really can. Okay. And by the way, there may be serious ways and efforts that have to happen, but they can happen. We can all do it. Okay. But this idea is that when Mashiach comes, says the Rebbe, a lot of people are going to be very confused. As the Torah says, or we're going to be as if we were dreamers. We're going to wake up out of this dream of exile. Okay. This dream of lack of belonging. We're going to wake up and we're going to know what it really means to be awake. But if we haven't been working on ourselves and making hitbodedut and learning Torah and working towards Achdut, towards unity with each other and loving each other, if we haven't been doing that, it's going to be as if we were in a deep sleep and somebody poured cold water on us and we wake up like, oh, okay. We don't want to wake up like that in shock. We want to wake up in a way where we have a gentle, conscious change. Okay, I was over here and now I'm able to get to here. Okay. And that's what we want to see happen for ourselves. All right. Let me see. Now, I'll continue on a little more with the parsha. So the parsha speaks also about the mitzvah of Torah. And it says, for the mitzvah I commanded you this day, it isn't beyond you. It isn't remote from you. It's not in heaven. It's not across the sea. Rather, it is very close to you, in your mouth, in your heart, that you may do it. Okay. So the Torah isn't for those people over there. Okay. The Torah is for you. It's so close to you that we have a spiritual gene inside us that when we come in contact with Torah, it's activated. Okay. Another way to look at it is if you take synthetic vitamin E, it doesn't plug into all the reactors in your cell. If you take ersatz Torah or another religion or something else, it may give you a little bit of a zest. I won't say it won't, but it's not going to activate fully with your cell. But if you take natural vitamin D, you take the Torah that was designed to plug into your neshama, you're going to come to life. You're going to come to life. You're going to wake up and be like, wow, this is amazing. It's going to be your juice, as they say. Okay. The other, okay, I have so many texts to get through. Okay. Freedom of choice. Another big important thing in the parsha. I have set before you, everybody's heard this, life and goodness and death and evil. And I command you this day to love Hashem, to walk in his ways and keep his commandments. And it says, the Torah says very famously, life and death I have set before you, a blessing and a curse. You shall choose life. Okay. What the Torah is doing is it's letting us know we have bechira, we have free will, we have the ability to make a choice. We really do. Okay. We often feel that if something is new to us, or something is something we haven't done, or something that's for other people, not for us, we feel that that choice isn't in the realm of our possible choices. And the truth is it may not be in the realm of our possible choices at this point in time. But what presents itself in front of you gives you the option for choice. Certainly, we all have the option to not do evil. That's for sure. We all have the option to not hate on another person. We all have the option to not rob a bank or whatever is within the realm of the things you say no to. So not swiping a pen from work is probably more likely. We all have the option of avoiding the negative things that the Torah tells us stay away from. Okay. And we also have the option of choosing the positive things that the Torah tells us to engage in, the positive mitzvot. Okay. There's the prescriptive mitzvot and the proscriptive mitzvot. We know what we need to avoid. What do we need to do? We need to find out where we can take that next step. That next step towards what's within the realm of possibility for ourselves. So for some of you, that might mean lighting Shabbat candles on time for the first time. Great. You've chosen life according to the Torah. Okay. You've chosen life. For another person, that might mean a very big, complicated thing. Whatever it is, whatever is within the realm of your ability to choose. Don't believe that it's nothing to do with you. Don't let your Yetzer Hara talk, or the Yetzer Horror, as I like to call it. Don't let it talk you out of your choice for life, because the mitzvot are here. The Torah is here to enliven us, okay, to fill us with life. It's here to teach us love and other good characteristics. When we engage in learning Torah and bringing bits of it, pieces of it, whatever we need to work on, we all need to work on stuff little by little, just piece by piece into our lives, we gain a new sense of life. We gain self. It's as if we've been given that natural vitamin E versus the synthetic. Something happens, and Hashem usually bestows on a person who, for the first time, is going to pay attention to what the Torah says. He bestows on that person a spiritual high. It's a gift. It doesn't last forever, but it often lasts in the initial stages of taking a look at the Torah with fresh new eyes. Okay, taking a look. And it lasts as long as you need it to last, to become enthusiastic and inspired. So whatever it is that you need to do to get to that next step, why not choose it? Why not choose it before Rosh Hashanah? Sometimes having the weight of making these resolutions and decisions on Rosh Hashanah can seem very daunting. Practice now, whatever that is. Practice now. You have a few days. You have some time till Rosh Hashanah. Actually, you have a week. Okay, because Rosh Hashanah is Monday night. You have a week. Practice now. We all have to make New Year's resolutions. Another reason why we have Nitzavim, okay, before Rosh Hashanah. It's reminding us what's really important. And we should all make resolutions. For one person, I mentioned anger. I know I lost some people with anger, but you know, hey, listen, really, secret. I'm a redhead. I have a hot temper. I'm a gingy. I have a hot temper. Okay. I work so hard. I'm still working on it. Okay. It's a biggie. Maybe that's the thing that you're going to work on this year. Whatever it is, don't deny yourself the power of free will. Don't crush your autonomy. Don't say, I can't choose life. Don't. You can choose life. You can choose to grab life by the horns, as they say, and take that next step. Rebbe Nachman says, never grow old. Don't grow old and feel that you're now done. Don't. Learn every day, learn something new, do something new, taste something new, experience something new. Strengthen your relationship with Hashem, and you will have a sweet and very happy new year. That is for sure. Okay, any questions, comments before we end? You can unmute yourself if you have.
Hi, Chaya Rivka, it's Doris.
Hi,
How are
Doris.
you?
Baruch Hashem, how are you?
Good. So here's my question, or I don't know. It's kind of a paradox, is it not? That in the Zohar we're taught that there is no space or time, and now you're telling us that Reb Noson said there is space and time. So
Okay, so we're talking
what
about,
do you make of this?
okay, so it's very simple. So for Hashem, there's no division. Hashem, it created space and time for us. It's a gift to us. That's all. It's very, very simple. And we operate in the realm of people, of a person, a neshama really, or a person, space and time. Because if we were flooded with data the way Hashem assimilates data, I mean, Hashem is the data that he assimilates, okay? We couldn't function, we would explode. We are limited beings, okay? We're very limited. We have a limited intellect. Even the greatest intellect on earth has a limited intellect. And Hashem gives us parameters within which we operate. So I hope that's a simple answer to a complex question. And I hope it solved your problem. Okay. Any more questions, comments? Nope. Okay. So I want to remind everybody that tomorrow we have the special Tehillim program. I do hope you join. It's the Abraham's Legacy. It's an international Tehillim program. I'm speaking tomorrow. It shouldn't stop you from logging on today. Just go to Abraham's Legacy, and that's exactly how it's spelled. I think it's .com or .org, and you can find a way to register for the event. It's free, and I know they're raffling off prizes tomorrow. I think they're, or I think there's giving away prizes. I think they're giving away one or two of my books. And I want to wish you all a very sweet and happy new year. And I know it's a busy time, but we won't see each other in the parsha class until after Rosh Hashanah, before Yom Kippur. Thanks again to Dr. Eleanor Dodos for sponsoring this class.
Thank you, Chaya Rivka. Shana Tova Umatuka.
Yes. A Gittin Yantif, Chaverim.